London stands at the centre of Europe's latest security test. On this day, the British capital becomes more than a backdrop for diplomacy. It becomes a stage where ministers gather to deliver a message of unity and defiance. The war in Ukraine is no longer contained to its own borders. Russian drones have flown into Poland, a NATO ally, raising the stakes dramatically. For the first time in months, the fear of spillover has become a direct reality. The scene opens with Britain's Defence Secretary John Healey walking with calm purpose. He is flanked by European counterparts, the French, German, Italian and Polish delegations, all united by a common concern. Each carries the weight of their nation's anxieties, but together they are stronger. This grouping, known as the E5, was formed to ensure Europe's voice remains coherent in moments of crisis. Today, their mission is clear: to send a warning to Moscow and a promise to Poland. Healey wastes no time in declaring the mood. His voice is steady, but the urgency is unmistakable. He says that last night, Putin hit a new level of hostility against Europe. Those words, direct and without qualification, hang in the air. They transform a drone strike from a military incident into a symbolic act of aggression, one that touches not only Ukraine but the entire NATO alliance. He follows with a firm condemnation. Together, he insists the E5 totally condemn the attacks. He calls Russia's actions reckless, dangerous and unprecedented, and he repeats what many in Europe already fear, that Vladimir Putin is testing the resolve of NATO, probing for weakness, daring the West to falter. But Healey's response is equally clear. Once again, Europe will stand firm. His statement is more than a press soundbite. It is reassurance for anxious allies. Poland, whose skies were breached, is reminded that NATO's guarantees are not abstract. Healey addresses the Polish people directly. As your NATO ally, he declares, we will support you. As your NATO ally, we will play our part to help secure the safety of your people. In these words lies the heart of Britain's message: Poland does not stand alone. Healey reveals that he has already tasked the UK's armed forces to examine options to bolster NATO's air defence over Poland. The phrasing is deliberate. He does not announce a deployment. Instead, he signals readiness. Options are on the table, and Britain is willing to act if the alliance chooses to escalate its defence posture. It is a calculated balance: deterrence without provocation, strength without recklessness. Throughout the meeting, the themes of unity and determination echo repeatedly. Healey reminds Putin that his aggression, far from dividing Europe, only strengthens its resolve. He insists that each violation deepens the bond among NATO nations. It is a rhetorical inversion. What Moscow intends as intimidation becomes, in London's framing, a catalyst for solidarity. The other ministers, though quieter in public, reinforce the same narrative. France's Alice Ruffo speaks of intelligence sharing and the need to detect threats earlier. Germany's Jens Plotner highlights advances in counter-drone technology, a field that Berlin has been pouring resources into. Italy's Guido Crosetto stresses industrial cooperation, noting that Europe must scale up production if it is to counter the drone menace effectively. Poland's Marcin Kazmierski listens closely. His presence a reminder that this is not an academic debate. For Warsaw, these are not hypothetical scenarios, they are lived realities. Drones in Polish skies represent a crossing of a line that many hoped would never be breached. His measured nods during Healey's remarks say more than words. Poland expects NATO to deliver, not merely to promise. Ukraine's Denis Shmyhal, standing among European allies, injects the urgency of war. He explains that every drone striking Kyiv or Odessa is part of the same campaign that now spills into NATO territory. He warns that without decisive support, Moscow will only escalate further. His intervention underscores the connection. Ukraine's fight is Europe's fight. To protect NATO, the alliance must continue to arm Ukraine. The visuals of the day tell their own story. Ministers stand shoulder to shoulder for the cameras, their alignment carefully staged. Flags, Union Jack, tricolour, black, red, gold, green, white, red, and Poland's white, red form a backdrop of solidarity. It is not accidental. In diplomacy, optics are weapons too. This is a signal meant for audiences in Warsaw, Berlin, Rome, Paris, Kyiv, and of course, Moscow. Journalists ask the questions the public wants answered. Will British Typhoon jets be stationed in Poland? Will more missile defence systems be sent eastward? Healey does not commit to specifics, but his repeated assurance is clear. Britain will play its part. Options are being considered, the armed forces are already working, and NATO will decide together. It is a careful balance between transparency and secrecy, between reassurance and strategic ambiguity. As the conference continues, historical parallels emerge. Commentators recall the Cold War, when Berlin was the front line of East-West confrontation. They mention the Cuban Missile Crisis, when nuclear brinkmanship pushed the world to the edge. They recall the Balkan Wars of the 1990s, when NATO once again faced the test of intervention. Each example serves to frame today's moment. Europe has faced crises before, and unity has always been its greatest weapon. By the closing moments, the message has been delivered. Healey, backed by his European colleagues, has warned Moscow and reassured Warsaw. The footage shows ministers leaving together, a symbolic choreography of unity. The final image lingers on Healey, surrounded by allies, his expression stern but confident. The narrative is unmistakable. Britain, alongside its partners, is ready to act. For Europe, the implications are profound. NATO is not drifting into war lightly, but it is also not standing idly by. Each Russian drone that crosses a NATO border carries the risk of escalation, yet it also strengthens the resolve to respond. The strategy is clear: deter Moscow through solidarity, prepare for defence through planning, and keep the alliance united at all costs. And so London's meeting ends not with a dramatic announcement, but with a steady message. Aggression will be met with strength, unity will not fracture, and Poland will not be left alone. In the struggle between intimidation and resolve, today Europe has chosen resolve. The cameras fade, the ministers depart, but the echo of their words carries far beyond the hall. For Putin, for NATO, and for the world, the message is set: Europe stands firm.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us.
Last night, Putin hit a new level of hostility against Europe. So together, we, the E5, totally condemn these attacks. Russia's actions are reckless, they're dangerous, they're unprecedented. We see what Putin is doing. Yet again, he is testing us. Yet again, we will stand firm. And my message to Marcin and the Polish people is this: as your NATO ally, we will support you, our Polish friends. As your NATO ally, we will play our part to help secure the safety of your people. And following our discussions today, I've asked our UK armed forces to look at options to bolster NATO's air defence over Poland. Today, as E5 nations, we say to President Putin, your aggression only serves to strengthen the unity between our NATO nations. Your aggression only serves to strengthen our determination to stand with Ukraine